problem, sometimes, you know.
No, it's good for him.
That's right. I'm not very good at it, but it's good for us.
It's good for him.
You do a good job with it.
Well, someone said.
Oh, that was at the breakfast.
That's right. That's exactly it. Something like that. He said.
I don't ever put that on you. Don't do it.
Stefan, you about ready? Yeah. You grab some?
I can't. We can't do it for nothing. Yeah, no, I'll get into it here.
All right, Dr. Wilson, we're about to get going. Okay, it's 3:33 on June 9th. I'd like to call this Caddo Parish Commission regular meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. Ms. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Hopkins.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Jackson. Young. Burrell. Jones.
Here.
Gage Watts. Taliaferro.
Here, ma'am.
Atkins.
Here.
Chavez.
Here.
Lazarus.
Here.
Epperson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Taliaferro, would you please lead us in the invocation, and Commissioner Epperson, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Let us stand. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to come together and do the will of your people, the will of you, Lord, for the kingdom. Lord, we ask your many blessings upon those who could not be with us tonight. Lord, we ask your blessings for those who are placing themselves in harm's way through their military service. Lord, we ask your many blessings upon those who are ill and need your loving hand upon them. Lord, we ask all this in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Let us all please remain standing. And before we go to the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to recognize that June the 14th is officially Flag Day in the United States of America. The Stars and Stripes was officially recognized as the flag of the United States of America on June 14th, 1777. Since 1916, when President Woodrow Wilson issued a presidential proclamation establishing National Flag Day as June 14th, the Stars and Stripes has been commemorated in many ways. Flags should, especially at businesses, should not be flown at night unless lighted. Flags should not be flown if worn, tattered, or faded. They should be disposed of by proper protocol. If you would like to know how flags should be disposed of once they are worn, tattered, or faded, you can ask any American Legion post, Veteran Foreign Wars post, or any Boy Scout unit for the proper way to dispose of our American flags. It should also be noted that the Caddo Parish Commission has flag disposal boxes in the foyer of Government Plaza, 505 Travis Street. Now, if all of our military and veterans will face the flag, render the standard hand to brow salute, all others right hand across your heart, and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance in unison. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Taliaferro, for that invocation, and thank you, Commissioner Epperson, for the pledge and for educating us all on the importance of Flag Day. We appreciate it. Do we have any agenda additions, Madam Clerk?
I haven't received any.
Okay. Takes us to citizens' comments. Is it just this one citizens' comment we have?
Yep, just that one.
Just this one? Okay, Brian White, please come up to the front of the podium. Welcome, Mr. White.
Sir, thank you.
I want to bring to y'all's attention, if I may, the fact that responsibility is the keystone of freedom. I'm here today for that fact, for addressing two things with y'all. First off, the proposed magazine limitation by Mr. Johnson, and the 5-mile land use limitation surrounding Shreveport. Infringement simply meaning to act is to limit or undermine something and encroach upon it. The magazine ban limits little more other than the law-abiding citizen. Those of you that are voting for it, you're likely addressing little more than what will be followed already by a law-abiding citizen. I do want to note on the way here that the billboard from the state of Louisiana that basically said dangerous weapons are the only thing that exists, not dangerous, or dangerous weapons do not exist, only dangerous people. And I think for the most part they're right. Restricting those who will comply is wrong. I think that it is worth noting that if this measure were to pass, you would effectively eliminate basically every weapon that I carry in my vehicle right now as a citizen in good standing, and would require an expense on my part to comply with a new regulation. This is not only unnecessary, but an invalid proposed infringement and nothing else. I wish this commission had data on how many crimes are prevented by weapon ownership by the local constituents of those that are law-abiding citizens. To that note, I also want to bring up my second point. Inside the 5-mile boundary of Shreveport, I noticed and learned recently that it is against Section 3248 for me to hunt or shoot on the roughly 200 conjoined acres that I have a stake in. This has deeply saddened my son, myself, has limited our recreational activities, and has otherwise reduced what we have used our property for our enjoyment, and while following the 4 safety gun law guidelines for the last 4 decades without incident. This is infringed on my use of the property, and I ask you to consider a proposal removing or appropriately modifying Section 3248 to allow me to have that right again, given my ownership of outside city limits property. I ask you to please consider giving back rights to the people instead of focusing on infringement or removal of their privileges, especially in something like their vehicle, which the courts and the law have shown is an extension of your home.
Thank you, Mr. White. We appreciate you coming down. Madam Clerk, do we have any other citizen comments?
No, sir. Now we move to visitors, the Juneteenth Coalition.
Okay, the Juneteenth Coalition.
Yeah, Mr. President, and thank you. I think several of them came up this week, but I think more folks are here today, so if they could come up and just, real quick, it doesn't have to be the detail that they provided last week, but I believe also they've attached the deal, and I see Shelley Regal here, so I know you just kind of want to just, I wanted everybody to see the full gist of who all has been working with this, and it's been a community-wide deal, so community-wide celebration. So I don't know if we want to turn it over to Shelley first or Pam first, or yeah.
Well,
Hello
hello
again, Pam.
Good to see everybody. Pam from the Shreveport Regional Arts Council, 801 Crockett Street. Mr. President, Vice President, Parliamentarian, and members of the Commission, thank you so much. Especially thank you to Stephen Jackson, who has been helping us to realize that there's a first time, not once in a lifetime, but first time 2022 opportunity to let Shreveport and Caddo Parish take a very strong lead in showing how diverse people, diverse organizations can really make the Juneteenth celebration, which is the first time that it's been a national holiday and celebration, and we want to make it everything that Caddo Parish could possibly imagine for all of the people of not just Caddo Parish and Shreveport, but frankly for all of Northwest Louisiana. We've been working very hard. This is an incredibly committed team, and with everything from, I'll just try to do it as a quick introduction, but from the North Louisiana Juneteenth Coalition producing a magnificent Juneteenth parade on June the 17th to get everything kicked off and started. And then we have Envision right in this area with Artish on Saturday, I'm not going in order of the events, but I'm going in order of the people, and Artish is going to be a really great day with more than 20 artists, 20 different craftspeople, 20 performers, going from 12 noon until 10 p.m., and also through Artish, creating our city's very first mural about Juneteenth, creating it by the artist Cadavian Baylor, who created the Juneteenth mural for Galveston. And I think we all know that it was June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, that the federal government came in and really recognized or officially freed the slaves. And so for Cadavian to have been a part of creating the first Juneteenth mural in Galveston and now creating the Shreveport story with his partner, who's also right there in the white, Poetic X, who's your Caddo Parish Poet Laureate. And so the first poem that Poetic will be doing is a public artwork, will be in coordination with Juneteenth, associated with this mural, with something very contemporary, a QR code where you'll be able to see him present the poem every time you look at the mural, which I think is just really outstanding. And of course, I have not hit yet the Juneteenth festival that is 35 years old, Let the Good Times Roll by Rho Omega. Where are you, Vincel and Fred? You all, right here. Thank you so much. The festival is just going to be remarkable. We kick off with Chris Ardwan on Friday night, and Saturday music and headliners all night, and Sunday as well. And in between and mixed into all of this wonderful, if you don't mind me saying, gumbo of festivity, is a beautiful health walk, a health experience, a run, and also the farmers market. And when we talk about collaboration, I just am so proud of the Rho Omega team for realizing that the farmers market also means something to everyone. And in the past, we sort of moved off that day, but this time you're embracing it and welcoming everybody to come and spend an entire day. Now, I didn't turn around, so I hope I have not missed a major event. Cadavian, have I? You all are right with me. So anyway, starting Friday at 4 o'clock with the kickoff of the parade, 5:30 the opening celebration at the Festival Plaza, 6 o'clock the opening of Let the Good Times Roll, Saturday at 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. the farmers market, 8 a.m. the health fair, 9 a.m. the run, all that 10 a.m. opening up there with the wonderful experience at Artish, and then it's 12 noon. I know it, I'm sorry, did I say it wrong? 12 noon. You get a little 2-hour break, that's right. 12 noon, and going all night Saturday, all of these events, and then Sunday coming back to Let the Good Times Roll. It's just going to be a phenomenal weekend. We have terrific help from each of these organizations having, shall we say, lots and lots of skin in the game. And then I want to also just say remarkable support from the city of Shreveport, and it is our hope that you all will consider this one of the important festivals to have a chance to support this year and perhaps as we go in the future.
Thank you, Pam.
And Mr. President, I know Pam recognized me. I would like to thank Pam because when this kind of, Michael reached out to me probably at the height of the pandemic to talk about a parade, and everything was going haywire. And so, but he said, I want to do this parade. And that's what really kind of snowballed it. And then we had the bridge lighting with the festivities that went on down there. And so Drayden, I remember Drayden back in 2016, 15, telling me about FAME, Fashion, Art, Music, and Entertainment. Right. Remember that? Long ago. Yeah. So, well, it seems really long ago. But tell me about FAME and his vision for bringing all of these things together, and then the charge that we gave to our poet laureate about being more active in our community, being out, getting things done, and then, of course, the festival that's been around for 35 years and is continuing to go strong and thriving. And Pam was able to bring all of these groups together to realize that this has to be a community-wide effort. We've talked about for years and years and years of how can we make Juneteenth a citywide, parish-wide, statewide, national recognition, and here we are today. literally on the eve or on the cusp of doing so right here in Shreveport. So I'm excited about it. I see Shelley over there. The city of Shreveport is lending their hands. But I don't know that if we would have gotten this far with planning, you sure wouldn't have gotten there if you were dependent on me to do it. So I have to give credit where credit is due to Pam for getting everybody together, getting everybody on the same page, as well as just the groups and organizations coming together to work together. And so I commend you all, and my hope is that we will, this is something to start. Caddo Parish was the first parish in Louisiana to designate Juneteenth as a holiday. The city of Shreveport was the first city, municipality in Louisiana to designate Juneteenth as a holiday. And so we must continue to lead the way in those efforts. So thank y'all for coming down. I didn't know, Shelley, if you wanted to add anything. I know the city's putting up quite a bit. Pam also didn't mention that SHRAC is putting funds in for the lighting of the bridge. I don't know if you talked about the bridge. But the bridge as well.
Good afternoon.
No, Shelley.
Thank you.
And I
for-
think the mayor, I also want to recognize the mayor. He sat in on the planning meetings as well, so definitely don't want to overlook that as well.
Right. Just for the record, I'm Shelley Regal. I'm the director at Shreveport Public Assembly and Recreation. We all know it as SPAR. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really excited to be a part of all of these organizations. I think when Commissioner Jackson first reached out and Pam said, hey, we want to pull all these people together. You know, we've been working with Rho Omega. I go way back. And I was only about 10 when I started. Commissioner Burrell knows that I've been around a long time, and I've been working with Rho Omega for a long, long time. And I thought, wow, you know, we're going to put all these people in a room. Here's this group who's been celebrating Juneteenth for almost 35 years. And I went back to the mayor and I said, you won't believe the meeting I just came from. It was so, it was really one of the first times I've been in a meeting where people said, hey, let's just work together. Let's figure out how we can all do this together. Was every meeting like, oh, that's no big, we all love each other. No, we want to do, you know, but it was the one time I've sat in a room, and we ask people to do this all the time. We ask social service agencies, we ask other nonprofits, collaborate, work together. You can have something bigger. And I was excited because the city of Shreveport, in partnership with Caddo Parish, I mean, our Spring Bayou Classic was a huge weekend that brought, you know, lots of people to our community, had a huge economic impact. And as I sat in this room, I saw this coalition putting, I know I'm not supposed to, what do we call ourselves? Not a coalition, but we're going to use a consortium because we have a coalition. Put together something that can get bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the members from Let the Good Times Roll, Rho Omega, said, you know, next year we need a rolling ticket. We need to start thinking bigger. So we have already set tentatively a meeting post event so we can start evaluating what went well, what didn't go well, what can we do different, and all the people who weren't at the table that we want to bring together. But, you know, for a short period of time, I just want to tell you the people behind you really worked together, and it was really exciting to be part of this organization. And it's always exciting when we put our efforts as a city and a parish together. I think it's always better and bigger because we all do what we do well, you know. So we're excited to be part of it, and thank you all for giving us this time to come speak to you.
Thank you, Ms. Regal. Thank you all. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all. Commissioner Jackson, is that it?
Yeah, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion at this time if we could suspend the agenda to take up this particular action item.
Take up which action item?
The authorizing the Juneteenth celebration weekend, the funding for that.
Okay.
And
Where is that? Where
it's
is that
at
in
the end. It's an action item, and if I get a second, I can.
Second.
8-6.
Yes. It's at the very end.
Okay, so Commissioner Jackson is asking that we suspend the rules to pull 8-6, item 8-6,
Correct.
up to this point in the agenda.
Correct, but the actual attachment for it is on the visitors part of it. So at visitors is where the attachment is.
Okay.
But
All right, so we have a motion and a motion.
yeah, because I'm gonna have to step away in a little while.
Oh, I don't see that on there. A6 is my resolution.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Is it 20, item number 2?
Yeah, it's on there. You gotta look for
It's
it.
22. 20 item number 2.
It's 8-2.
8-2.
8.2.
We're talking about the resolution or the authorization?
Authorization.
That's gonna be 22.
20, Roman numeral 2.
22, that's correct.
Right.
All right, 20 Roman.
Right after the official journal proposal.
That shows, mine shows 20 Roman numeral 2 on this, unless something changes, the reappointment of the Lakeview Waterworks District.
Look what happens when Jeff goes on vacation.
All right, what is it, 20, is it item 22, is that it? 20.2. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Commissioner Jones to move item 20.2 up to this point in the agenda, as he's gonna have a schedule conflict. Do we see, is this by acclamation? Anyone opposed?
I got a question.
Commissioner Johnson.
I was looking at the expenses, for the need for the money, and I just wanted to make sure that those have been vetted and they meet ARP guidelines.
Ms. Haley?
We haven't had the chance to vet any of, all the expenses of any of the organizations. We will do that before we pay out the funds, though.
Okay, so we'll be vetted before the funds are distributed?
Yes.
Okay. Is that all right? Yes. Okay. All right, do we have this by acclamation to move this item 20.22 up to this point in the agenda?
Let's vote.
All right, let's vote. Just to be clear, are we voting?
Voting to move it up.
All right, voting to move it up. Everybody we want to document the vote. Okay, everybody, if you're comfortable moving 20.2 up, please punch yes.
Commissioner Lazarus?
I thought we were approving it.
Well, if you were going to vote yes or, so you're fine.
Okay.
Okay, that motion carries with 12 in support.
All right, now we will raise the issue for discussion and a vote.
Right.
Commissioner Jackson, would you like to discuss your motion?
Yes, and I just know that I have talked with administration about this. They are going to take them through that process to vet.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I have talked to administration about this. They are going to take them through that process to vet. That was one of the reasons why you see the funding listed the way it's listed, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's administration that's going to, no organization is receiving any funding. Administration is going to vet the projects, and they'll basically be paying out for those services, essentially.
Okay, so they're managing the distribution of funds.
Correct.
Okay, and y'all are comfortable with that, Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions on this issue?
Who was the second?
Commissioner Jones was the second. Anything else, Commissioner Jackson?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, let's vote, please.
That motion carries with 12 in support.
Motion to move back into regular session.
Second.
We had a motion from Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts with a second for Commissioner Jackson to move back into regular session. Thank you, Commissioner. Let's all vote on moving back into regular session.
That motion carries with 12 in support.
Okay, so we're back in visitors, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. And Ms. Makey Jackson of Humanity 2020 is next on our agenda.
Ms. Jackson, welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Grand afternoon. My name is Makey Jackson. I'm the CEO founder of Humanity 2020 Group, which powers Operation Neighborhood Reinforcement Initiative that American Rescue Plan funding community generously fully appropriated funds last year. We're a nonprofit 2-on-1 service provider. We are part of 988 coordinated efforts. We're partner in local development of services with Louisiana Crisis Response System with Louisiana Department of Health and Office of Behavior Health Services. We're a Medicaid service provider. We're a behavioral health service provider. We're a licensed mental health professional. We're a licensed professional counselor. We're psychiatrists. We are licensed clinical social workers. We all group together. We follow all guidelines of substance abuse and mental health specialist services. Our credentials with more than 30 years experience in the field. We're dedicated our utmost energy in every crisis we take on. The crisis you have to worry about is the one that you do not see. We're here ready to prove outcomes and strengthen outcomes for the community by establishing a wraparound crisis management services around our citizens with well-trained crisis peer peace practitioners. As we envision, we will be dispatched for 2 broad categories of calls of crisis that do not require police presence, while patrolling in response to 2 specific categories of calls for services. We could be dispatched to lower level risk 911 and 988 calls related to mental health, addiction, homelessness, behavioral health crisis, and substance abuse, many more. These 9 emergency calls for services will be more effectively addressed by us, given our training as well our personal and professional background. These sort of situations will benefit from the mediation and de-escalation skills and community experience that makes us credible peacemakers. A type of crisis peer peace practitioner with a personal history of justice and mental health system involvement. Already employed in crisis prevention across Caddo Parish with the focus of long-term solutions. We can help address today's low-level concerns before it becomes breaking news in tomorrow's crisis. Our team consists of 2 crisis peer peace practitioners, 1 drug and alcohol specialist, 1 mental health specialist. Let's get a little closer with our team collaboration, our partnership. We have Katrina Bolden, our executive director of Superior Council. She has 3 locations here. We have Mr. James Thor, CEO of Office Hub. Also, he's the CEO of Life Changing Solutions. They are the true leaders in mental health industry. 988 was one of the components that really expand us by being a service provider for 988 coordinated efforts. For 988, it's a 3-digit national number for Christ Health Hotline that was mandated by the federal government October 2020. This will allow us to receive calls from regional and local crisis centers and calls for 911, SPD, calls that meet certain criteria. These calls will be redirected to 988, then to our in-house center, and to our patrolling team that's on the street that is ready to do street triage on crisis. We want to be deployed, we won't wait to be deployed. Sometimes crisis can escalate quickly. As soon as we're on site, we can de-escalate immediately. Let me explain Operation Neighborhood Reinforcement Initiative in depth. Our pilot program enables Caddo Parish and other providers to test the effectiveness of a planned crisis solution on a smaller scale by 2 advantages: to manage and memorize risk of crisis. Testing our theory of crisis management successful matrix in a controlled manner members to examine the effects and discover unexpected results, examination of known and unknown crisis, of risk of crisis. The benefit for our pilot program before a full-scale rollout, our objective is to provide the best practice evidence-based crisis management to the citizens to test the evidence-based solution to demonstrate its true value and discover deficiencies if it's needed. Well before spending significant amount of time and money on other resources to upscale a full project, while we're managing crisis in a colorless state. Crisis doesn't have a color. It might be less of crisis in neighborhoods.
Ms. Jackson, one moment.
I'm so sorry.
You've run out of time. Do we have a motion to extend 2 minutes?
No,
So moved.
this is on the visitors. It's not a 3-minute limit.
Uh-oh.
I saw the time go, you're good. I saw the time go to 0. I thought you were out, but you're good.
I can continue. Thank you. Let me get back set. Sorry about that. Okay, crisis doesn't have color. It might be less a crisis in neighborhoods where poverty, crime, drugs, and alcohol consumption is higher, where diagnosed and undiagnosed of mental illness is higher. The list can go on. At the current pace of 2022, Shreveport will see 69 homicides this year. But even though the numbers might be down from 2021, they still far exceed the average for the size of Shreveport. According to KTBS daily zip codes in Shreveport, so we have the daily zip codes for homicide is 71109, 71108, 71106, 71107, accounts for more than 75% of the killings in the city this year, leaving 25% of others in other unknown zip codes, but it's still homicides. Commissioners, we have to do something. Crisis should not keep winning by price of humanity, a human life. I want to discuss something that's very dear to me, and that's you guys' report of crime-reported incidents by districts. I want to show the need of us, for us. And that comparison, as you guys understand, comes from the SPD website. And I want to go by districts. District 1, homicide. You had 1 last year. You're at push 1 this year. Your rates are 200% up. You're down on your personal robbery. Your business is down. Business robbery is down 100%. When it comes to aggravated batteries, 33% down. You had 9 last year. You have 6 this year. Your aggravated assault, you had 10 last year. Now you're at 12, which is a 20% increase. The aggravated, aggravated burglary, 67% increase, and 260 for all your thefts and your thefts and robberies. I want to go to District 2. District 2, you had 0 homicides this year and last year. You have 300% on your, 300% on your rapes. And then also, when it comes to your aggravated battery, you're 75% increase. When it comes to your aggravated assault, you pushed this year. You got 3 last year and 3 this year. 40% on your, up on your burglary, all the way down to your thefts is 233 and 120 incidents. District 3, you had 1 homicide last year and 1 homicide this year. You had 300% rape. You have 4 assault and batteries last year. You had 3 this year. You're also up 83% on your assault and batteries. Okay, everything from burglary seems to be declining at 71%, but it goes up for theft for 200%. District 4, you have 2021, you had 2 homicides, you have 0 this year. When it comes to rape, 133% of rape. When it comes to persons, robbery, 600%. When it comes to the aggravated battery, you're still at a push, 9 this year, 9 last year. When it comes to the aggravated assault, you're up 9%. Burglary is declining. Burglaries are declining. Now we have District 5. District 5. You have 100% in homicides. You have 2 rapes last year. You have 0 this year. You have 33% of rape. You have 67% on personal robbery. You also have, when you come to assault and battery, you had 9 last year, you have 7 this year. When it comes to assault, aggravated assault, you had 16 last year, you have 8 this year. Burglary is up 44%, all the way down, there's 50% on thefts. Jones, District 6, you have 1 homicide this year, none last year, okay? I'm looking at rapes is down 50%. You have it up 50% for personal robbery. When it comes to aggravated battery, 13%, 13 last year, you had 3 this year. When it comes to aggravated assault, you had 12 last year, you have 4 this year. And it's 27% up on burglary. All the thefts and percentages are very high. District 7, you have 4 homicides last year. You have 2 this year. You have 33% of rape increase. You push again when it comes to personal robbery. 6 last year, 6 this year. When it comes to the aggravated battery, 17 last year, you had 11 this year. When it comes to aggravated assault, you up 38%. When it comes in terms of burglary, again, that's up 15%. It's down on business burglary at 67%. It's 56% on shoplifting and 100% on business, all increase. District 8, you have 5 homicides last year. You have 3 homicides this year. You have a push on rape. You had 2 rapes this year, 2 rapes last year. When it comes to aggravated battery, you had 10 last year, you had 5 this year. When it comes to aggravated assault, you had 20 last year, you had 14 this year. It's 36% in decrease in your burglary, all the way down to 133 on business, 100% increase on theft on residents, and so we have Atkins. 2021, you had 1 homicide. This year, you have 2 homicides, 100% increase. When it comes in terms of rape, you have 5 last year. You have 1 this year. When it comes from aggravated battery, it's 100% increase. When it comes to aggravated assault, it's up 29%. In terms of burglary and theft, it was pretty much 113 and into the 40s on theft. The last report here, we have District 10. You have 3 homicides last year. You have 1 this year. You have 2 justifiable homicides last year. You have 0 this year. You have 2 rapes. You have 1 this year. Okay, when it comes to aggravated assault, aggravated battery, you had 15 last year. You had 11. When it comes to aggravated assault, you have 14. You have 13 this year. When it comes to burglary, it seems to be very, very low. When it comes to theft, it's under 30%. When it comes to District 11, you had 1 homicide last year, you have 0 this year. When it comes to rape, it's at a push again, 1 last year, 1 this year. When it comes to aggravated battery, you up 29%, but you're down on aggravated assault 13%. When it comes to burglary, it's up 36 and 175 on thefts. Okay, last district, we have 0 homicides. We have 2 manslaughters. We have 200% of rape. We have a push on personal robbery, 2 this year, 2 last year. We have 11 aggravated batteries last year. We have 9 this year. We have 21 aggravated assaults. Last year, we have 15. We're 40% decrease on burglary, but 117 on business thefts, 144 on thefts of car and accessories, and that actually concludes the report of offenses. And the reason why I took the time to research this is because I do believe that y'all can see that y'all need another hand in this game when it comes to managing crisis. Okay. That concludes that. Just 1 second. Okay, let me get. All aggravated assaults and all aggravated batteries start at first an unresolved crisis. Say it again. All aggravated assaults, all aggravated battery starts at first an unresolved crisis. About 99.9% of crisis episodes ends in violence. We suggest that we learn in crisis, praying for those 69 homicides be a bridge for us, bridge for hope on how we frame our narrative, on how we manage crisis collectively across neighborhoods, parishes, cities in a bipartisan way whereas unmanaged high crime or crisis is our prime concern. We have witnessed the overflowing of crisis that is not managed or resolved will always result in more senseless deaths of loved ones. This matter is worth your consideration.
Are you right?
I am done. I'm closing it up, and I want to thank you guys. So thank you for you. Hey, me and you on the same page. Thank you all, commissioners, for taking the time to listen. We hope for your vote. We vote yes to deploy crisis peer peace practitioner on your streets of Caddo Parish and for our citizens and especially our children. Thank you.
Thank
Did I
you,
run
Ms.
out of
Jackson.
minutes?
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, you can talk. Okay, we're done. I guess
Thank
you can't
you.
talk. You good?
Let's see, before we go on to the next item, Dr. Wilson, I just want to clarify, I see Larry Little with Origin Bank out here. Are you going to bring him up during your session?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just hang tight, Mr. Little. All right, thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Clark?
Okay, now we move to adopt the regular session minutes from May 19th.
We have a motion from Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, a second from Commissioner Young to accept the minutes. Let's vote, please.
That motion carries with 12 in support. Now we move to special resolutions. Our first special resolution is special resolution of recognition of appreciation for Rho Omega and Friends for celebrating the Juneteenth holiday for 35 years.
Commissioner Johnson, I'll turn the agenda over to you.
All right, make a motion to adopt this special resolution.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Epperson to adopt the special resolution.
And I would ask the members of Royal Megan Friends to come forward.
All stand, please.
You wanna vote?
Madam Clerk, don't let us forget to vote on that before we move on.
Proclamation of recognition to Rho Omega and Friends for hosting 35 years of public celebrations of Juneteenth. Whereas the Caddo Parish Commission is pleased to acknowledge events of significance that occur in the community and to recognize the organizations who are now and for a long time have been in the forefront of positive and worthy activities and deeds that accrue to the benefit of all. And whereas such an organization as Rho Omega and Friends, comprised of Omega Psi Phi's Rho Omega Chapter and extended community, whose Let the Good Times Roll Festival debuted in 1987, and over its 35 years, it has grown into Louisiana's largest Juneteenth celebration. And whereas the Caddo Parish Commission proudly sponsors the Let the Good Times Roll Festival, recognizing its significance as a celebration of African American freedom, culture, and unity as expressed through fellowship, food, art, fashion, and music. The important economic impact of the 25,000 patrons who attend the Let the Good Times Roll Festival each year, and the charitable benefit of the funds that are raised to support youth mentoring through the Omega Lamplighters. And whereas Omega Psi Phi Incorporated was founded at Howard University in 1911, making it the first fraternal organization founded at a historically black university, and its Rho Omega chapter, founded 99 years ago, stands as the oldest alumni chapter in the Omega Psi Phi's 9th district, which includes Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas, and its rich legacy and deep community ties make Rho Omega and Friends an ideal host. And whereas the 2022 Let the Good Times Roll Festival will take place June 17th through June 19th at Festival Plaza in downtown Shreveport, and will feature artists ranging from Louisiana musicians like Chris Ardion and New Step Zydeco, to Shreveport native and national celebrated fashion designer Pink Lucy, to national recording artists like Slick Rick and SWV, among many great artists over the 3 days. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission in legal session convened that does hereby recognize June 18th, 2022, the eve of the 2022 Juneteenth holiday, as Let the Good Times Roll Day in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, urging all citizens to join with the Caddo Parish Commission to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Let the Good Times Roll Festival and to join in its celebration of black culture and the Juneteenth holiday. Signed, Commissioner Atkins, Commissioner Johnson, and Commissioner Jackson.
Okay, we can be seated. Please take your seats.
Today, we have two members of Rho Omega and Friends organization is here. This organization started back, I want to say about 36, 37 years ago. And since that time, and 35 years ago, they started out with the Black Arts Festival. That was on the back side of the courthouse on Milam Street. And it was a free event. People would come, and the festival outgrew that one block of Milam, the 500 block of Milam. The festival then moved down to the riverfront. There was a parking lot down there, and the festival then basically took over that particular parking lot. During that time, the city decided to build what's called Shreveport Festival Plaza. And so the festival moved into the Festival Plaza. And over the years, it has had, I want to say, about 7 or 8 chairpersons. I was one at one point in time, from 2004 to 2010. It has a rich history. It was something that was basically letting the people in this area know that we wanted to make sure that Juneteenth was special to everyone in this area. And with the passing of the Juneteenth festival, Juneteenth celebration and holiday now makes it official. but we were celebrating it before it became official and became popular. And today I just wanted to recognize these guys for being something that was a leading light to getting this done. And also, with the proclamation you do have, there's also a key to the parish.
Vincent Holmes. Again, I just want to say thank you again. I appreciate the continuous support of the commission. I consider the city, the tri-state area. We have been doing this, and again, we are just grateful for the city supporting us, the commission supporting us, and we're thankful. And I hope to see all of you again June 17th through the 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, we got a couple of guys on the board who'd like to say a few words. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Come on.
Guys, I want to commend you to the festival has been a great success over the years. I'm glad to see that our fraternities and sororities, which is very important in the city, is stepping forward and leading the way. We have several activities sponsored by Greek organization, Black Greek organization, or should I say majority Black Greek organization, because I think all of our organizations now are integrated. So again, we commend you and looking forward to a great festival. Unfortunately, I'll be on vacation out of the country, so but I'm sure it's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Gage Watt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Likewise, I would like to commend you on your achievements with the Juneteenth celebration, and I also would like to take this opportunity to thank you for what you have poured into our young men in this community. I had the privilege to sit in on 98 young African American men being honored for their good citizenship right here in Caddo Parish. And that is quite honorable, and it's because of men like you who are taking leadership roles in this capacity. So thank you for what you're doing, and we will continue to support you in your efforts.
I see Commissioner Jackson. Oh, thank you, Commissioner Gage Watt. I see Commissioner Jackson was also a sponsor of this legislation. So
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for offering up this legislation. We did one in 2017, and so it's always great to annually recognize the contributions that Roe Omega and Friends add to our community with the festival, with scholarships, and just the many things. I think you're participating in the Paint Your Heart Out, and just the number of events that are taking place throughout the community. The festival is the big event, but 365 days a year, you're working in the community. Fred is not here today. I would be remiss. He left off one person Monday, and we have to give some recognition to Ms. Foxy Faye Fisher, who also played a role in that. And I know she's gone, but I know when they, all those individuals that he called out on Monday, when they look at, and they're gone now, but when we look at what you all have grown this festival into, not just a local thing, but this is a regional and national festival that recognizes Juneteenth. I remember growing up as a kid coming to the festival, and so I hope to see this continue beyond our time here, and just keep passing it down. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and so congratulations, keep up the good work, and we're proud to be a part of the partnership in making the festival happen. So thank you for what you do for the community. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I think Commissioner Burrell had another comment.
Just one more comment. Given the fact that we've, for the 4th of July, we've had fireworks to be a part of it, and Juneteenth was not included. So based upon a piece of legislation that I passed at the state level, we can have fireworks on Juneteenth around Louisiana. So it would bring more attention for our young people to the Juneteenth celebration. So again,
We got them this year.
Yeah.
We got fireworks this year.
All right, that's great. It'll be the first time for Juneteenth. Yes, sir. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Gage Watt, second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very quick, I also asked to be added to the legislation on Monday, so we need a new certificate.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll print it and add you to it.
Thank you.
While you're doing it, add me too.
All right, so, Madam,
Mr. Johnson been extended.
Madam Clerk, so we'll add Commissioner Gage Watts, please, and Commissioner Burrell, and reissue the proclamation to the gentleman. Okay.
Without being extended anyway, so.
All right, I think we're ready to vote.
That motion carries with 12 in support.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your leadership. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Now we move to a special resolution proclaiming and celebrating the Juneteenth holiday.
Commissioner Jackson?
Move to adopt this one and move to adopt the, I want to make an englobo to adopt the Juneteenth recognition.
Can we do mine by myself?
Mhm.
Can we do the next one by itself?
Well, I'm not going to present any of mine,
okay.
so I'm just going to make a motion to adopt, recommend, and present the ones that need to be presented.
8-2, 8-4, 8-5?
Yes, all of them.
Second?
Yeah, and mine don't have to be presented.
Okay.
So-
So we have a motion by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Commissioner Chavez to englobo and adopt
Mhm.
item 8-2, 8-4, and 8-5.
Thank you.
Mr. President, Commissioner Jackson, we'll go ahead and put 8-6 in
Go
there.
right ahead, trying to
We're not
move
gonna
us
read it
along.
today anyway, so.
And 8-6. Thank you, Commissioner
Yeah.
Jones. All right. Any comments on that, Commissioner Jackson or Commissioner Jones?
No, sir.
Okay. I think we're ready to vote. Let's go ahead and vote, and then we'll come back to it. Commissioner Burrell, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to see if it's okay to be added to the resolution, what, 8.2?
8.2. Commissioner Jackson, is that right?
I'm good with any of them.
Okay,
Yep.
Commissioner Burrell would like to be added to 8.2,
And
please.
8.3, I think that's the last one.
And 8.3? And 8.3, if it's okay with Commissioner Chavez. Okay.
I'm a yes also.
Yeah, okay. Commissioner Gage Watts is a yes also, Madam Clerk.
Got it. That motion carries with 9 in support and 3 in opposition. And now we move to special resolution of
Wait, did we actually, okay, so let's,
Yeah.
all right, we're good. All right, thank you, ma'am. Continue.
Now we move to special resolution of recognition for reigning Mrs. Shreveport, Jessica Latin.
I think
Commissioner
Ms.
Chavez.
Lattin thinks she's coming down here to speak on mental health, but her husband wanted to surprise her. So, Ms. Lattin, if you can come down, if everybody else can please stand. Thank you.
Oh, they pull a dirty trick on you?
That was moved by Commissioner Chavez, second by me.
Moved by Commissioner Chavez, second by Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you.
Not Chavez, but we wanted to celebrate you. You want to read
read it?
Oh, I'll go ahead. It's a lot of accolades, so I'll go ahead and then we'll talk about it. Whereas Caddo Parish Commission.
Turn to the mic. There you go.
Whereas the Caddo Parish Commission is always pleased to recognize and honor those sons and daughters of Caddo Parish who have gone forth to gain singular and outstanding personal achievements, and in so doing reflect favorably the positively upon their home community. And whereas Miss Jessica Latin, a professional counselor, entrepreneur, wife, and mother, participated in Miss Louisiana American Pageant and Mrs. Shreveport on May 21st, 2022 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where Latin rose to the top of the illustrious group and was proudly named first runner-up, as well as being selected as most photogenic. And whereas, in addition to representing our community proudly as Miss Shreveport, Latin's other titles have included Miss Black Louisiana U.S., and her pageant participation reflects the same commitment to excellence and service that she exhibits in her personal life as a wife, a mother, and her professional role as owner of JL Counseling, LLC. And whereas Latin's commitment to bettering the world around her is evident in every aspect of her life, her dedicated volunteerism and advocacy for organizations assisting victims of domestic violence, to her education that includes a bachelor's in psychology, master's in counseling, and graduate certificate in the dynamic and domestic of family violence from Louisiana Tech. Her licensing in Louisiana, Texas, and Georgia, national certification as a counselor, international certification in prenatal mental health, and the clinical supervision she provides for those seeking licensure in Louisiana. Her service as a gratis assistant professor of psychiatry and behavioral medicine at the LSU Health Shreveport authoring the self-confidence journal Crowned in Confidence, hosting the podcast, you've done all kind of stuff, the Counselors Complex, serving as an ambassador for nonprofit 2020 Mom, and whereas her obvious charm are complemented by the depth of her substance, she stands as an intelligent and beautiful role model who is community-minded, encouraging towards others, and a talented, confident, and compassionate young woman. Now therefore be resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission and legal and regular session this 9th day of June 2022 that it does hereby extend its most sincere and heartfelt expressions of congratulation and appreciation to the reigning Miss Shreveport and first runner-up Miss Louisiana America Jessica Lattin for her praiseworthy achievement and for representing Caddo Parish so elegantly and admirably. Signed, John Atkins, President, Roy Burrell, Mario Chavez.
Please be seated.
Wants to get a picture of this.
You got a
Get your husband in here. Come on.
You on the board?
You want me to be on that?
Sure.
I know, Brett, don't leave. I know a lot of people, I know you probably want to say something too. This is so admirable of what you've done for Caddo Parish and how you represent us, that you couldn't go down there, win, and not come back, and we not acknowledge that and celebrate you. So this is your day, and I already see the board lighting up. So a lot of people have things to say, and I know it's a tear-filled moment, but you're great on camera, and you're going to do a good job speaking back. So congratulations, and thank you for this.
Congratulations, Ms. Lattin. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Anything to say?
This is better than winning Mrs. Louisiana.
All right. Well, we have some people who do want to speak. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. They have a meme of me with the Michael Jordan meme crying, so crying is contagious. So just be careful, but just know that we appreciate your work. Church members. I enjoy seeing what you all do. Brent probably trying to get out of the honeydew list down here. But that was that's some bad stuff there, brother. You got to take some notes. But Jessica, I've seen you compete in your pageants, and I also follow the counseling service, just the nuggets that you put out. Continue to be a beacon in our community and represent Shreveport and Caddo Parish very well. We do a lot, and you see people talk a lot about what's going wrong in our community, but we have to continue to tell the good side and tell the good story. And you all are involved in so much in this community, moving around, just trying to be positive in this community. So, and it's rubbing off Alex and the young lady. It's rubbing off in the most positive way. So, continue to keep up the great work, and we look forward to supporting the next time you go around for Miss Louisiana. So, we appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Congratulations, Jessica, Brent. We also are church members as well. Enjoy seeing you grow through this process and all that you've done throughout the community, and just being a great example for young women, not only at our church, but throughout our community as well, to be able to see your persistence and your dedication to serving others. And I do believe in time that will pay off. I remember Major Applewhite having to be set on the bench, and they got to the bowl game after he had been benched by Chris Sims all year long. And they got to the bowl game, and Major Applewhite had to win the game. And they asked him, how do you feel about having, to sit in the background and you're finally getting your accolades? And he simply said, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Mm-hmm. And due time doesn't necessarily have a date on it. It's when it's supposed to happen. And so in due season, if you faint not, you will reap the rewards that God has for you. And this is just a scratch of the surface of things that are to come for you. And as Commissioner Jackson said, I can already see it rubbing off on Bella, and she's already out there competing and doing great things like her mom. And I also want to shout out Mr. Congeniality himself, Mr. Brent Ladden, who was received that award that same weekend as well. You two keep up the good work that you're doing in our community, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Congratulations on all of your achievements. And I know that there is nothing like being recognized in your own hometown. So I share those tears today with you, my sister, because I know that at the end of the day, just being a mother alone is the greatest job of all. And to have more than just enough time to pour back into the community is pure passion. And I know that's what you do it for, not for this recognition. Though it feels great that someone else sees what you're doing. And for your husband to stand beside you, behind you, and to support you, I know is why you're able to do what you do today. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of the women of Caddo Parish for what you are doing and what you will do, because the best is surely yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you. Jessica, I didn't know that that you were there. You're the one. You're the shining star. That Brent, I've been knowing him for some time, and his contributions to this community. But I didn't know that that he was really standing on the shoulder of a real star. So again, we want to commend you on all the things that you're doing, and it must be exciting because our president has been crying over here.
I've got some allergies.
I've been passing him napkins here for a moment, but it must be great. Thank you.
Okay. Is that it, Commissioner Burrell? All right, Commissioner Epperson.
Brother Greg, I go back a long ways, even before you were born. Your grandfather and your grandmother, E.C., Katie Latin, am I correct? Yes, sir. Right behind Second Ward School. He worked for Mid-Continent Steel. Katie worked up at Piggly Wiggly on 70th Street. And your father, Ken, was raised up with my two oldest children. We went up to Grambling to visit them. And it is just so enlightening to see positivity such as yourself and Miss Jessica. We're not leaving you out because good lineage is just like a magnet. You're going to be attracted to it, and you all certainly represent a positive impact as to what can happen out of Northwest Louisiana. And even though you was in Second Ward in DeSoto Parish, your granddad was, but we're so proud of you, and continue to do what you're doing, and we're going to do all that we can to support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Talfaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do appreciate Commissioner Chavez putting forth this special resolution. I didn't know all the times that we have met that I was in the presence of greatness. I am truly inspired, and I'm in awe of all of your accomplishments. And I'm very proud of you, and I'm very proud to have met you, and I'm very proud to call you friend. Thank you so much for your contribution to our great state and our great parish.
Thank you, Commissioner Talfaro. That's all we have on the board. Anything to add, Mr. or Mrs. Latin?
Oh, I just want to thank you guys so much. It truly is an honor. I've been competing in pageants since I was 19. I'm 33 now, about to be 34. I actually recently got another opportunity to actually represent the state of Louisiana at the Mrs. United States of America pageant in March of 2023. So this is not the last that you'll see of me. So hopefully I'll bring home that title. But thank you guys so much. It really means a lot.
Thank you. We respect both of you all and are proud to have both of you in our community. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
You guys want to go ahead and vote on that?
Pardon?
Vote on
Oh,
that.
thanks. Let's please vote. Can you remind us who the motion and second was? Motion was Commissioner Chavez. Second was Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. All right, let's all vote, please.
That motion carries with 12 in support. And now we move to communiques and committee.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules, to move up ordinance number 6238 of 2022, the public hearing and the final passage.
Second.
Okay. 62, okay.
6238, that's the one dealing with the high-capacity magazine.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Johnson to suspend the rules and move up item 6238. And we had a second from Commissioner Tormigage-Watts, I believe?
Yes.
Okay, any comment?
Oh, we just have some people in the public audience that would speak on behalf of this, and kind of just want to let them go ahead and get it done, and they can leave if they want to afterwards.
Okay. All right, let's vote on that motion to suspend the rules and move that item up.
This is to move the public hearing though, is correct?
Public hearing and
To
final
move-
passage.
Yeah, the public hearing and the item.
Okay.
Moving it up.
Moving both the public hearing and the item up.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Hopkins.
Oops.
That motion carries with 11 support and 1 in opposition.
Okay, I guess we're ready for the public hearing on that, on 6238.
Okay, ordinance number 6238 of 2022, an ordinance adopting section 32-62 of the Code of Ordinances prohibiting possession or carriage in a motor vehicle on public roads of firearms with a magazine capable of holding more than 20 rounds of ammunition, to provide for penalties for the violation of the ordinance and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Okay, so we need to open the floor for public hearing. All right, I'd like to open the floor for public hearings. If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to speak for or against this item, please come to the podium. Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the committee, and the floor is yours.
Excuse me. Good afternoon. My name is Kirsten Thompson, and I'm with the People's Promise Youth Division, a local organization creating more educated, engaged, and more passionate youth. And I'd like to speak more on this ordinance that Commissioner Johnson has proposed. And I know this gentleman here expressed his concerns of law-abiding gun owners here in Shreveport concerning this ordinance. And I want to address the issue that Shreveport knows all too well. Over the past months, we have seen senseless killings of our youth here in the Shreveport area. An 8th grader shot inside of their grandparents' house in Fairfield. A Huntington High School basketball star shot in front of his home in Queensboro. It is all too often we see another face on the news, another face on a t-shirt, and another mother crying. It has become so frequent that the citizens of Shreveport have become desensitized to this violence. It has become so frequent that when you think of Shreveport, you think of this. The youth should be the most precious thing in the hearts of you all and the rest of our city officials. And whether ordinance number 6238 gets pulled or pushed forward, we need legislation. We need ordinances. We need something to keep our youth in Shreveport safe. Keep guns out of malicious hands. Keep guns out of irresponsible hands. Parents should not have to bury their children anymore. And when will enough be enough? When will our officials step up to do the job they were assigned to do, which is advocate for the people? How many more innocent lives have to be taken in order for enough to be enough? So please, listen to us and listen to the crying parents of this city. Use your power to end the senseless violence that has been plaguing our city for far too long. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Autumn Summers.
Welcome, Ms. Summers.
I am not a legal expert or lawyer, but it doesn't take either to know that Caddo's gun violence
is outrageous. It doesn't take a lawyer to understand that children are being shot and killed by stray bullets simply because they live in the wrong part of town. And actually, it doesn't take a lawyer to understand that even living in the right part of town doesn't keep you or your children safe from being shot by a stray bullet. My name is Autumn Summers. I'm the chair of the People's Promise Youth Division, and I am not here to simply show my support for this ordinance, but I am here to show my support for the people of Shreveport. I'm here to show my support for their safety. The people of Shreveport, they have a population that has been far too long traumatized and frightened by the gun violence in Shreveport and in Caddo Parish as a whole, that even walking outside in their own neighborhoods, it makes them think that might be the time, that might be the last thing that they do. There is not a single reason to hold more than 20 rounds in a firearm unless you are carrying to kill. There is no reason that this should be allowed. There is no reason that we should do nothing about this. Though I understand that this ordinance might conflict with some of the state statutes, I do understand as well that this is not the only proposed solution that we can have. A recent report showed that out of all Caddo Parish gun-related deaths, 20% of them were adolescents. 20% of them were under the age of 20. And out of those, 15% of those were under the age of 18. 15% of all gun-related deaths are children. Children are being killed in Shreveport just for staying in their homes because they're not even safe there. So let's ask ourselves something. How many more people need to get shot in a shootout before we make a change? How many more people need to die in gun-related deaths before we make a choice to change something? How many more children need to be shot and murdered in their homes before we make a choice to end the violence? Continuing to allow for this violence is a choice. It is a choice. And you can choose to allow this to continue, or you can choose to help the people of Caddo Parish. A change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. So I urge all of you, so even if this ordinance does not go through, propose another solution. And then another one after that, and another one after that, until the gun violence in Caddo Parish is over. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm the best starter, and I'm here on behalf of the People's Promise to speak on this ordinance. And I implore you all to pass this ordinance, or to keep moving in this direction, of gun control, because the violence that we're seeing on the streets, in the schools, in the city, is something that we have never seen. And even if we have seen this violence, we have done nothing. We have just sat there and waited for the people to fix themselves, or waited for citizens to learn how to protect themselves. We cannot continue waiting for some kind of gun control law to just come around and show that it can have good effects. We must make a decision. We must move on this. We must move to control the guns and to stop the violence that's going on in our parish and in the jurisdictions inside of the parish. We must move in a decision, and we must move for gun control, because this is going to be one way to stop the problem. If not to stop the problem, but to make that problem weaker, to make a solution and to keep pushing that solution. I implore you all to pass this bill, or to keep making decisions that will force gun control, because we cannot let old legislation, old parts of our Constitution left over, and keep coming back. This rounds is not prohibitive. This does not prohibit guns. It's just a step into the future. It's a step to make our city safe, to make our parish safe, to make the people available, and to make sure the people are not scared to walk anywhere. Because currently we're seeing that people are scared to step out of their house and to walk. We're seeing that people are scared to walk in the streets of Shreveport, the same streets that we live on, the same streets that we grew up on, yet we still don't walk on the streets. This is a step to make sure we keep the streets safe. This is a step to make sure and to show other jurisdictions that we can do this. and that gun control is going to be the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. White?
First, I want to say I do appreciate the concern of those that have just spoke. I've helped personally to bury 2 siblings, multiple compatriots, and kindred over the years. It's not easy. It never will be. For those of you who know what a prison shank is, I'll simply say that even in the most controlled region possible, which that is prison, evil people will still find ways to hurt and maim each other, regardless of the methodology. Pulling our privileges and rights as responsible citizens is not the fix action, as has already been proven. I do want to also note that restrictions don't fix the issue at hand. I do not deny that Shreveport and parts of the Caddo Parish at large and human nature in and of itself in today's environment have issues. What you're being asked to vote on addresses every road in the parish. It doesn't involve the city of Shreveport in their own homes. If that is what they wish to address, then I ask the Shreveport Commission to accomplish that, and not for you to restrict the parish at large. There are admittedly problems. There is an education problem, there is a family problem, and I would argue that there are technological distractions by parents that have contributed to this problem and their focus on their family and the cohesion thereof. The number of occasions where we have shootings by law-abiding citizens, according to the Department of Justice, is less than 2%. It has nothing to do with the fact of people will still find ways to disobey the laws that you put into place. You must address the fact that removing privileges and rights for those of us who are at large is not the fix action. And to those that have already spoken, I would say be very careful to wield away your privileges. Be very careful to wield away what you see as the issue in front of you. Those will not come back easily. I've never seen an entity where a law was passed to return those rights and privileges to you, and as I have gotten older, I've never seen that go well. I've never carried my weapon either in my vehicle or on my person with the intent to do anything other than to fulfill the protection of my family. But I admit that I wish to remain admittedly able to do so to the maximum extent of the law.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak on this matter? Seeing no one, the public hearing is closed. That brings us to Commissioner Johnson's motion. Commissioner Johnson, you're on the board. Would you like to speak on your motion?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to postpone this until we get a Louisiana Attorney's general opinion to see if this is a restriction.
So Commissioner Johnson would like to make a motion that we postpone this item until we can get an Attorney General's opinion. We got a second from Commissioner Stonegate-Wise. Any other comment, Commissioner Johnson?
Yes. As a law-abiding citizen, one, why would you need a magazine of over 20 rounds loaded in a handgun on a public road? If you're going to a gun range, before going into the gun range, that gun has to be unloaded. If you're going hunting, then you gotta have that gun unloaded while you go hunting and then load it when you get to your spot. These are things that are happening at other locations, so why it can't happen on our public roads? They got laws in place to protect Bambi, but we don't want to have nothing to protect our kids. Our kids should be of higher interest to us other than hunting animals that you have to, it's a law already in place saying that it has to be unloaded to do that. We have to stop sitting around on our hands and come up with something to save our kids. This Monday, 15-year-old was shot with 100 rounds on the ground. Tuesday, there was a shooting in the MLK neighborhood. BMW riddled with bullets. Nobody's going there with a six-shooter. It's magazines that are high capacity, and we're talking somewhere between 50 and 100 rounds. To protect yourself, if you go to the gun range, you don't need 20 rounds if you know how to shoot a gun. So let's put something in place to protect those that are innocent. I've seen footage of kids jumping out of cars, in cars, shooting AR-15s, and they're shooting. Bullets are going everywhere. Our church was hit with 13 bullets because they didn't know how to shoot. They trying to shoot a whole block over and missing everything that they tried to hit, but hit our church, hit a transformer. Makes no sense. Drive by, right next to the people that they were driving by. 2 people shooting out the car window. Missed everybody in the parking lot. But we allowed those high-capacity magazines to be loaded in cars on public roads. We need to stop that. Looking across the United States, people are using these high-capacity magazines to kill innocent people. Let's do something. Let's be the leader for a change and say we putting something in place to protect our youth. Our youth came down here today pleading for help. I mean, what else does it take? I know a lot of y'all don't like to have gun control, but the Second Amendment was written a long, long time ago. Technology has changed so much since then. And we got to change with it. I mean, are we still sticking to everything that was the original part of the Constitution? If so, you're trying to say that I'm not a man, I'm property. That has changed. So let's look at this with an open mind and basically say, let's keep it moving forward. Let's get an opinion to see if this is a restriction. Because I don't believe it is. But I was told that it was. So I just want to see from the highest official that will make that kind of decision if it is or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I wanted to applaud our youth for coming down here. I know they're hurting just as much as the people around this horseshoe, and they're demanding answers. I applaud Commissioner Johnson for trying to think of solutions. I didn't want the youth to leave here without knowing that this very body passed about 3 weeks ago a resolution asking the state of Louisiana, which we will see next year on the legislation because they're past the session, but we requested a 5-year mandatory sentence for anybody involved in a drive-by shooting, whether they're driving, whether they're shooting, whether they're passenger. If you get in a car and you see people with a bunch of weapons, you know what time it is, and you know that you need to distance yourself from those individuals. Unfortunately, this legislation, and why I couldn't be a part of it, is its jurisdiction resides in the parish. All these drive-by shootings are taking place within the city. And I understand we have to figure out something. I just think placing another law on the books in this scenario, murder is already illegal. The people that are killing people, they're already breaking the law. So I think if we try to place a law on those criminals that are already committing crimes, it won't help this situation. I think having a 5-year mandatory sentence to make somebody think for 1 second, because currently on the books, they could do a drive-by shooting. They could, I hate to say get lucky and not kill somebody, but just wound them and get charged with aggravated battery. That aggravated battery could carry a 12-month sentence, and then because of Justice Reinvestment Act, they could be out in 8.5 months, which means they could do a drive-by. They could shoot somebody. That person could not die, but could be wounded, and that person could sit in jail for 8.5 months and get out and be back on the streets. We need to send a clear message to the criminals that are obviously not abiding by the laws, period, and already, that if they take part in operations like this and activities like this, that they are going to be sitting behind bars for a minimum of 5 years. And that is my hope, that those criminals at least think for 1 second that maybe I'm just going to waste 5 years of my life if I participate in this activity. I'm proud to say that this body passed this, and we'll be seeing it at the legislature next year. Hopefully they pass it down in Baton Rouge. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. This year alone, we've had more children to die from gun violence than car accidents. We're obligated to do everything that we can to save our future. As much a major catastrophe as it was for 19 children who were dropped off at school by their parents that had to be later identified and never returned home again. It's something, as the young lady stated, that we have normalized, that it's not right, it's not acceptable, and it should not have to be personal to us to make the right decision for this parish that happens to be in Shreveport, Louisiana. Sometimes we look for so many loopholes not to support what is necessary for such a time as this. And as disheartening as that is, it should not change our personal convictions of doing the right thing. How many more times should we have to have this conversation? Should we wait until it happens at our home and then try to make it make a difference for everyone then? I remember in 2015, one of the things I said that was happening very prominently in District 7 is not happening all around this horseshoe yet, but it's coming. And that has held very true in areas that we did not expect for a child to be in their bedroom and be killed by a straight bullet. It's been enough. It's been enough for Shreveport. I am tired of hearing mothers crying out for their children because of assault rifles. They're used in the military. You do not need them. And if this was my legislation, it would be to prohibit them. And that is my opinion. But to sit here and not do anything is definitely not an option. I am looking forward to what this opinion says, what we legally can do, and moving forward. And I hope that it is expedited because we don't have any more time to waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage-Watts. Commissioner Hopkins.
I'd like to move to remove 6238 from the agenda.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Hopkins to remove 6238 from the agenda with a second by Commissioner Lazarus.
We might need to start over, but when we have our attorney tell us that this doesn't cut the mustard, I've talked to a retired judge, and he says it's contrary to Louisiana law, and we're not even looking at the right area. This violence is taking place inside the city limits of Shreveport, and if the city of Shreveport wants to do something on it, that is their choice. But we're not having those problems in rural Caddo Parish. And we're going to create, I believe we're going to create problems with people coming through that are not criminals, but they get in the right spot and get in the right situation, they're going to all of a sudden be criminals. And I do not like creating criminals out of regular people. So I'm asking to remove this from the agenda. And if Mr. Johnson wants to come back with something else, that's his prerogative.
Tell my people in District 7 that Shreveport is not in Caddo Parish. Tell them that.
We have no authority in Caddo Parish with our ordinance. That's all I'm saying. We have no authority inside the city limits of Wall City, or Greenwood, or Vivian, Wall City, any of those. Only this ordinance is only for rural Caddo Parish. Our problem is not there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. When we originally introduced this, or Commissioner Johnson rather, originally introduced this legislation, I think I made it clear what my stance was as far as being a responsible gun owner. And I know that really shocks people a lot of times. You know, pastor got a gun. Yes, I do. For some people it's a sport, for some people it's not. But when we get down to the root cause of what's going on within our parish, Shreveport is our largest municipality. And so what I'm thinking in my mind is something has to be done. Whether we agree with this particular legislation or not, we can't, none of us can disagree that something has to be done and something has to be done right away. And that's just the truth of the matter. Thank you to the young people who came down and spoke your hearts today. And thank you for Mr. White is coming as well. The beauty of the nation in which we live in is it's a democracy. Everybody has a choice to pick which side of the aisle they want to be on. And so the opinions that you all brought are to be commended. What Mr. White has to say has to be commended. And the truth of the matter is we're not going to all agree on how to get to certain places. We're not going to all agree on every piece of legislation. But we have to agree that our children are dying at a rapid rate. We have to agree that something has to be done. What I don't want to see is for us to, excuse me, remove legislation or postpone legislation, and in the meantime, none of us come up with solutions as to how we can fix a problem. I don't believe that we should remove guns out of the hands of responsible gun owners. That's how you feel. But you have to feel some type of compassion for mothers and fathers who are crying out and having to bury their children. And a lot of these children who are leaving y'all are not troublemakers, because that's what I've been hearing the whole life. Well, if you live by the gun, you die by the gun. The children who are being killed are not living by the gun, neither dying by it, because that's not the way they live. They're innocent children. Devin wasn't running in the streets. He wasn't a gangster. He's a high school basketball player. And he lost his life foolishly. Landry was visiting her grandparents. Was the same thing, live by the gun, die by the gun when it came to her? And I'm not saying that the case, that's for every child that we've lost this year, but the majority of the children that we have lost have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Simply put. And so something has to be done to make sure that we have a safer place to live, not just for our children. I say this all the time, for the seniors in our community who want to enjoy the communities that they have retired in. They don't want to have to move out of the homes that they had to pull all that money together and work hard to build from scratch. And so what I like to see us do is to come with some solutions. Our attorney has given us her legal opinion on this. And I'll be honest, I've said to a couple of my colleagues, I am concerned that we pass legislation that's going to stand on something. That's all I care about. When we first introduced this, I supported moving forward because I want to see something happen with our gun laws. I want to see something happen with our legislation. But I also want it to be ironclad. I want it to be something we can actually pass and we won't have any restrictions with it. That's important to me because I don't want to get to spinning in circles, y'all. Nobody wants to deal with that anymore. No, people are tired of that type of governance. People are over that. And if we think we can just keep coming up here and passing the buck and people are not going to say anything anymore, we're living in a false reality. Just like times have changed as far as laws are concerned, people are becoming more and more engaged when it comes to government. And they're starting to ask questions that they weren't asking before. And they're starting to hold us to a certain expectation that they were not holding us to. And so what we have to do is make sure that we all come to the drawing table. Let's find out what we can do to have a safer parish. We cannot ask people to move here and live here, and it's not a safe place to live. So whichever side you are on today, everybody around this horseshoe needs to be thinking of a solution or some solutions that we can bring to the table that we can all come together on and say, hey, I think this works for the parish. And no, do we have any authority within Shreveport? We don't, but we can surely use our legislation as an influence for them to do something on their end. That's all I'm asking. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Johnson?
This is in rebuttal to Commissioner Hopkins. A few months ago, we had a situation where we was talking about the MPC for the parish. The attorney made an opinion. We asked for attorney's general opinion. She made an opinion, but we still asked for an opinion. Everybody supported that. I'm asking you today to support this one. It's not nothing unusual, just asking you to support it. Secondly, District 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 all touch the city limits of Shreveport. All of them. Okay? So we all represent people who stay in Shreveport. Whether we don't have the jurisdiction to say it's going to happen on Shreveport streets or not, we all represent people who stay in Shreveport. All of us. Okay? This ordinance, the city going to follow this same ordinance. They going to come in and pass the same ordinance. But sometimes, I don't think we should be always sitting in the back waiting for the city to do this when we can lead sometime and then let the city follow behind us. You say it's not happening in the parish, but how long you think that's going to last that long? It's summertime. I heard on the TV and the radio, Gillum Track is starting to get geared up and start having races out there. You think that's going to be immune to it? The sheriff already says he's short on deputies. So guess what? Big crowd, some pop off. They're not worried about it because you short on deputies. Same thing with City of Shreveport. They keep saying they short on police officers. So those kids know they got the advantage because y'all short. We got to do something, put something in place to level the playing field. This particular ordinance will help with surveillance. If there's surveillance, what's going on? If you ever just take out the time to look at social media and see what those kids are saying on social media, they're giving themselves away. But there's nothing that the police can do until they go after them, after something has happened. Because before then, they can say, I was just playing. But putting something like this in place, and they see that car on the street, they can pull that car over for just cause. Gun is loaded, confiscate the gun. You done saved a life. That's all I'm asking. Save a life. But we want to sit here and sit back and say, well, that's not in my area. I don't care about that. It doesn't bother. It should bother all of us. Every last one of us. If this was happening up in the northern part of the parish, we should still be supporting you. But this is happening in all our areas. Nobody's immune to it. Nobody. When something happened in Highland area, we had people come down demanding something to happen. But we've been having killings in the inner part of the city for years. A death is a death. There's now one that's better or less. They all mean something to somebody and somebody's family. And for us to sit here and say, well, oh, that's inside the city limits of Shreveport, we can't do that. We can't influence city council people to do things. I mean, I got a relationship with some. I'm quite sure the ones who are inside the city limits also have a relationship. We can make that happen. All I'm saying is we got to do something. We can't just sit here and say we're going to vote on the Juneteenth festival activities. We're going to vote on where we're going to put all wells. We're going to vote on passing millages. We're going to vote on property taxes. We got to do more than that. I know this is a touchy situation. There's two things that bring people down here. If I say I'm going to ban guns or have some kind of gun control, this whole thing can be fuel. Or we talk about dogs and cats. That's the two times that this place is full. The only two times. We got to do better. And we wonder why businesses don't want to come here or why they're hesitant to come. It's because we got stuff backwards. Human life should come before animals. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. And I hope everybody else feel that way. If you don't, I'm sorry. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson.
Call for a question on all the previous motions
Second.
on the table.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson to call for the question, a second from Commissioner Johnson.
All of them.
All previous questions. All right, let's have a vote on the call for the question.
This system just shut down, so I'll just do a roll call vote while it loads back up. Hopkins,
Call for question, yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Young,
Young.
Burrell,
No.
Jones,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Talafaro,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Lazarus,
Yes.
Epperson.
Yes.
That motion carries with 11 in support and 1 in opposition. Now we move to Commissioner Hopkins' substitute motion, seconded by Commissioner Lazarus, to remove ordinance number 6238 from the agenda. Hopkins?
Yes.
It looks like the system may be back up, Mr. Clerk.
It's loading.
Okay.
Johnson?
No.
Jackson?
No.
Young?
No.
Burrell?
No.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No.
Jones?
No.
Gage Watts?
No.
Talafaro?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Chavez?
No.
Lazarus?
Yes.
Epperson?
No.
That motion fails with 4 in support and 8 in opposition. And now we move to Commissioner Johnson's motion to postpone it until an AG opinion is rendered. Still roll call. Hopkins?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Burrell?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Gage Watts?
Yes.
Talafaro?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Chavez?
Yes.
Lazarus?
Yes.
Epperson?
Yes.
The motion carries with 12 in support.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Move to go back into regular session.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson to go back into regular session, a second from Commissioner Jones, among others. Let's go back into regular session, please. And Madam Clerk, I'll wait for you to direct us.
Do you guys want to carry that by acclamation? Or?
Yeah, let's carry by acclamation. Thank
Now
you.
we move to communiques and committee reports, administration response to information requests from commissioners.
Dr. Wilson, may I ask a point of presidential privilege, if such a thing exists? And if you're going to have Mr. Little speak, could you call him up so he can get on his way?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You want to go ahead and do that now?
Go ahead.
Could you come forward, please? Commissioner Atkins, several commissioners asked that we invite our organization banker to this meeting so they can ask questions relative to the community involvement. So that's why Mr. Little is here today. And thank you for doing a great job managing our resources for us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, and I appreciate those kind words, and I will tell you that the banker that works for us that manages your accounts is very complimentary of your staff and the interaction, so thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Welcome, Mr. Little. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Please pull this up a little bit so we can hear you.
Is that better?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. I don't know specifically what is needed or required of me, but I have prepared some information, or I'm open to questions.
Why don't we just get to the chase? And I know that Commissioner Epperson has a question.
I may have missed it. Did he give his name and title and what he represents?
I apologize. My name is Larry Little. I live at 10035 St. Bernard Drive in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I serve as the Louisiana State President for Origin Bank. And for those of you who may be new to the commission, Origin Bank is a Louisiana headquartered bank. We're publicly traded, presence in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, and very proud to work for that organization. And we're also very proud to serve as the Caddo Parish Commission's banking agent.
Fiscal agent. I know that Commissioner Johnson, I believe, had a question for you.
Right, but you said he had a small report or something you wanted to say?
I've got some data that I compiled that I thought might be of interest that I'll be.
So if you would give that data, that might be some of the questions I might have. If
Sure.
not, then I'll ask additional questions.
That works great. So the last time I was asked to come to the commission, there were specific questions around our CRA activities, which I'm prepared to share with you. I also thought I'd share a little bit about our PPP, Paycheck Protection Program activities, because I think that's relevant given recent events and the state of our economy.
Mr. Little, please remind the audience what CRA is and try to reduce the banking acronyms.
Yes, sir, I will. So CRA stands for Community Reinvestment Act. That is a mandate placed on all federally insured banks that we serve our communities in whole, not just certain parts. And specifically, it is directed to those activities that might be beneficial to low to moderate income or majority minority census tracts.
And that's my focus for today.
Great. So as of March 31st of this year, so let me back up. So CRA investments and loans are benchmarks that we're measured by. CRA investments, generally speaking, fall into one of three categories, although there are some others. But typically, it's municipal bonds that again are targeted at qualifying census tracts. Low-income housing tax credits, another very common CRA investment. And then the third would be deposits that banks place with credit unions that designate themselves. They accept the designation as low income, as serving a low income population. So, and that mirrors, those three categories mirror our concentration of CRA investments or CRA activities in Caddo and Bossier parishes. So as of March 31st of this year, we had total investments, CRA investments of roughly $4.5 million. And then the other side of CRA activity that we're measured by are CRA loans. Again, those loans to borrowers that are located inside a designated census. And we had a census tract. We had $3.3 million in qualifying CRA loans. That's just in Caddo Bossier parishes as of March 31st of this year. Roughly 40% of our loans are to borrowers in low to moderate income tracts. Now that's a reflection of just some of the makeup of the metropolitan area. So those are some high level statistics that reflect our CRA activities through the end of March. And I'll pause there before I move along to CPCRS.
So that 40%, was that approved loans or applied?
Those would be outstandings. And it's a rough number. Yes, sir. Okay, so many of you may recall the Paycheck Protection Program, which was part of the CARES Act that was passed in response to the pandemic and the closure of businesses. It essentially was intended to help people remain employed, to encourage businesses to keep people employed. So it was a massive program. It was thrown together in spurts and fits, and it was a monster to manage, but in early 2020, when rumors of this program were starting to circulate, my boss approached me and asked me to put together our response to the Paycheck Protection Program for the bank-wide, which I did. Had I known what I was getting myself into, my answer may have been different. But I'm very proud of the response that our organization had to the Paycheck Protection Program, particularly in Caddo Parish. We were the #1 Paycheck Protection Program lender in terms of volume. And I'll give you some metrics as to how much of a scale this was. In 2019, our organization as a whole, we originated roughly 5,000 commercial loans. Okay, this is pre-pandemic. So in the whole year, we originated roughly 5,000 commercial loans. In the span of about 2 months in 2020, following the passage of the Paycheck Protection Program, or the implementation of the Paycheck Protection Program, our organization originated roughly 3,000 paycheck protection loans, again, in roughly 2 months, in essentially 2 months. So it was literally an around-the-clock effort by our organization, very unified in purpose, and I'm very proud of the results. So again, we were the largest PPP lender in North Louisiana by a significant measure. For the whole program, just in North Louisiana, in the parishes that we serve, we originated 2,343 PPP loans totaling $244 million. By the time the program was over, bank-wide, we had originated almost 5,000 loans totaling $762 million. So it was a massive undertaking for the organization. In Caddo Parish, we originated 494 Paycheck Protection Program loans totaling $58.1 million. Again, the largest volume of any lender in Caddo Parish. In Caddo Bossier combined, we had about 717 loans totaling $80.6 million under the Paycheck Protection Program. As taxpayers, I thought you might find it interesting. So, interestingly enough, in North Louisiana, in aggregate, on a combined basis, what I'll call digital lenders, banks that did not have a physical presence in North Louisiana. I'm going to pull my glasses out because the typing's so small. Digital, non-physical located banks made 12,332 loans to borrowers in North Louisiana, totaling almost $321 million. So without a physical presence, they generated that kind of volume that was more than we generated as the largest PPP lender in North Louisiana. It's troubling as a taxpayer because our inspection of those activities indicates massive fraud, perhaps the largest ever perpetrated on the U.S. taxpayer. There's indications that as much as 80% of those volumes were fraudulently obtained.
And those were PPP volumes?
PPP, yes. Yes. So the last thing I'd like to touch on is more of an announcement and a rollout of something that I'm super excited about, super proud of, and I think will have impact to our community in Caddo Parish. We have developed an in-house loan program called the Welcome Home Loan Program. We will be issuing 30-year fixed-rate mortgages for the purchase of primary residences. We're going to be doing so at advance rates ranging from 97% to 100% of the purchase price of the home. No PMI, so that's purchase money insurance. That's if you don't have, typically if you don't have roughly 15% equity in your home, there's an insurance policy that's carried as a rider that makes sure if the bank liquidates the collateral, then they're made whole on that. So, and that's an added cost to the borrower, so no PMI. We're going to be providing assistance towards closing costs of up to $3,000 per borrower, and qualifying borrowers who are purchasing a primary residence within Caddo or Bossier Parish that are low to moderate income or located in majority minority census tracts and have household incomes at or below 100% of the median income for our area. So this is targeted at people who might otherwise not be able to achieve the dream, the American dream of home ownership, and I'm super excited about this program. And I would encourage you, if you have any constituents that you think might be of interest, I think you can get in touch with me through the commission. You can find me on Facebook or Twitter or put a call into the office. So, and that's really all the prepared remarks I have.
Thank you, Larry. I think Commissioner Johnson's back on the board.
Sure.
Right. How many branches do you have in the Shreveport?
We have three locations total in Caddo Bossier Parish. One is over in Bossier. I've got an office downtown on the 308 Market. It's right across from the federal courthouse. Mm-hmm. And our second location is in Shreveport, is at the corner of 70th and Fern.
And Fern?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the Welcome Home Mortgage?
Yes, sir.
Sounds real good.
Yes, sir.
But how would you get that information to the people that really need it?
You're going to start to see a robust social media and advertising program that is I mean, this is brand new. I mean, literally, I don't even have marketing slicks on it yet to hand out, but there will be a robust advertising program to televise and broadcast this program.
Okay. Are there any type of community sponsorships that Origin Bank does?
Oh, goodness, we do, yes. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Do you know your budget?
I don't for community. I can certainly get that to you, and I can provide a list, kind of a.
If you would.
Yeah, I don't mind a bit. We do. So one of the pillars of our organization is involvement in the community. And not only do we preach that, we put it in action. So every employee of Origin Bank is provided with 20 hours of paid time off to engage in any type of nonprofit philanthropic opportunity that they so choose. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Is that Commissioner? Okay, Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Mr. Little, thanks for coming down. He's serious about that. I saw him yesterday at the molecular imaging ribbon cutting, so thanks for being there. On the PPP, do you know off the top of your head the top 5 SIC codes, or maybe the top SIC code in this area that were awarded those 2,000?
I can easily get that for you. I don't have it at hand, but that is, so you may recall, those of you may recall, the SBA was mandated by Congress to publish the results of the Paycheck Protection Program. So the name, city, and originating bank and the dollar amount of every single PPP loan is public data, and I actually use it as a prospecting tool for other banks customers, and we've got it with the NAICS codes, and I can easily distribute that to you.
I'd love to find out what industry types borrow from this area.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, on that welcome home thing, we actually looked at doing using the Housing Trust Fund today with a representative that came from another organization to get people for low-income housing. So I'd love to talk more about that with our administration. On that, you say qualified buyers, minimum credit score range. Do you have?
I don't. I don't. I apologize.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's
what
all right.
that is.
I'm just wondering because it's fresh in our mind because we met with another organization today about that.
So there's going to be recognition that someone in this position might not have stellar credit. However, you have to have some level of credit quality, or the bank is being foolish with the handling of depositors and FDIC insured funds. So
you have stockholders to answer to. I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Burrell.
Thanks, Mr. President. Larry, good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
Second day in a row.
Yes, sir.
When you showed up this time, I thought maybe you were going to tell me my account was overdrawn.
Not today.
But anyway, it's just a matter of information. I've dealt with the Community Reinvestment Act in the 90s, dealing with our banks here in the city. And during that period of time, shortly after, they watered down a lot of the CRA requirements on the federal level. In other words, it didn't have the teeth that it used to have, that made banks give to the public their CRA reports, and they were graded. My question here is there still oversight in that area? How much oversight from your perspective? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but this is something I've dealt with for years. And is there oversight still on redlining these low-income communities?
Yes, sir, absolutely. So there are both a fair lending exam that banks are periodically put through that measures the redlining and how well they do at lending to all sectors.
Still graded, so-called?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it is it is something that's taken very seriously, because if you don't fare well in that fair lending exam, you can be stopped from acquiring other banks. You can be stopped from opening other branches. You can really be hamstrung. So it's something that organizations typically take very seriously. On the CRA piece, same thing. There's I don't know if it's annual. I think it is an annual CRA review that's separate from our safety and soundness review, and it examines our investment and our lending activities and holds us to a standard. So yes. And now I can't speak. You mentioned it being watered down over time. I've been in banking almost 30 years, really, though, in a role where I would be kind of privy to those things for probably the last 10 or so. So I don't know what period of time that you.
Well, you got to realize that I've kind of been on this road over 20 years. So it was when I was on the city council. So that's been almost 20 years ago. And during that period of time, there was a lot of conservative legislation that came out that watered down the CRA requirements, and I didn't know whether or not they had.
Well, we've got dedicated staff that's what that's their job, is to kind of oversee and make sure that we're focused on it and just look over our shoulder and make sure that that they give us the metrics as market leaders and make sure that it's something that we look at. I have a quarterly conference call with all of the market presidents in the organization solely about CRA activities.
Well, are the banks still responsible to, in terms of the report that they produce, that it is available to the public? 'Cause
I
you
think
we
so.
walk in-
I think so. I think it is available, and I think it's and I think the grade is available. I'll verify that. That like our safety and soundness exam, we're prohibited from sharing the results of that, good or bad. We can't. That's. But I think the CRA results are publicly available. And
I'd be interested in that.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Johnson, back on the board?
Yeah, just one question.
Yes, sir.
Any plans to expand other branches, say maybe West Shreveport, North Shreveport, South Shreveport?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So I don't know whose district it is, but back several years ago, at my suggestion, we purchased a piece of real estate in what I consider Southwest Shreveport. It's near the intersection of Burt Coons and Mansfield Road. If you can picture the Willis Knighton Hospital in your head and the little Wendy's that's there, it's immediately across the street from the Wendy's. There, it's vacant land. There used to be a vet or a dentist office there that we tore down. We invested a ton of money in dirt and getting it ready to build a location in Southwest Shreveport.
Okay.
Well, banks are there's oversight to make sure that we serve our communities both in a lot of ways, and one of those things is measuring where you put new branches. I can't build on that property without putting myself in a bad position, because that side of the street is considered high income. If I was on the other side of the street where the Wendy's is, that's a low to moderate income tract. Now, if I built that branch there, would it serve a tremendous low to moderate income segment? Yes, but I can't do it without putting the bank at risk for consequences, because I would build that branch. And so we're trying to work our way through that. Candidly, brick and mortar, it's a tough balance to strike. We saw, as you can imagine, during the pandemic when everything's closed down, people just stopped coming to branches, and there was even a greater migration to electronic banking and people walking in to connect, that just disappeared, right? So it's hard for us to warrant paying for justifying brick and mortar locations, given the advent of electronic, moving your money around electronically. And I just kind of, ask yourself, when was the last time you walked in a branch, bank branch? And then I would say probably half of you haven't been there in a long, long time, and some of you may have. It might have been years before. So it's tough. It's a tough balance to strike.
2 days ago.
2 days ago, well, you went to the wrong bank.
I like going in the bank. I like going to talk to tellers. I like that.
Gotcha. We'd love to have you in.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Seeing no one else on the board, thank you, Mr. Little. Thank you for coming down. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
all. Thank you for everything you do for Caddo Parish.
Dr. Wilson, back to you.
Yes, sir. The commissioners, I think we had a request to present you an overview of the disparity study. I think I emailed it all to you all today, a couple of pages of that. The study itself was about 500 pages, and the Caddo Parish portion was 52 pages. So I'd like Ms. Valerie Jameson to come forward this time. Let's kind of give you some overview on what we're going to do to try to improve our portion of that. And also, the study is available online as well.
Hello, Ms. Jameson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and also if you don't have a copy with you, I did bring a hard copy, if you would like so, and I'll leave it. So for my presentation today, I'm just going to go over a little bit briefly just to remind you about what our current policy is, what our initiative is, as well as from a purchasing perspective and how it ties back into the disparity study. I'll discuss with you the recommendations that came out of the disparity study and where we are today. And if you want any other additional information after this meeting, I'll be more than happy to sit down with you individually or at one of your committee meetings. In accordance with applicable state and federal laws, the parish has adopted the Economic Inclusion Initiative for Small and Emerging Businesses to comply with the parish's policy providing and ensuring contracting purchasing opportunities to level the playing field for these businesses that we have here in the Caddo Parish. The ultimate goal is to enhance economic development opportunities within our community through the growth and development of these businesses. The initiative has a 25% goal for small and emerging businesses on all parish funding contracts authorized under existing law. The parish's initiative is race neutral and is based on the net worth of the company, which must be less than $1.5 million, and 51% of the business is owned by individuals with a personal net worth of $400,000 or less. Our 5-year average percentage has been 14%, with 59 active certified businesses with utilization of 37% MBEs, 24% WBEs, and 39% majority-owned businesses. In the document that Dr. Wilson issued to you, you will find that on reference pages 26 through 31. Like I said, I do have copies here. It is the policy of the parish to ensure every opportunity is made available to include small and emerging businesses in awarding public works contracts and purchasing materials and supplies pursuant to the guidelines established under the Louisiana Public Bid Law. The Public Bid Law governs contracts of public works and the purchases of materials and supplies by public entities that meet certain threshold requirements. Competitive sealed bids are required for purchases in excess of $30,000 for materials and supplies, and public works contracts in excess of $250,000. In your packet, you would reference contract and subcontract data to tie back into this statement. And on May 6th, a town hall meeting was held to present the results of the disparity study conducted by Keene Independent Research. And I think we had about 6 commissioners that attended that event. Based on the results of the study, the following conclusions and recommendations were suggested. They are: set an overall aspirational goal for MBE, WBE participation. Establish new certification criteria and pursue joint certification with others in the region. Strengthen measures to encourage participation of disadvantaged companies, including targeted outreach, preference points, and contract goals for parish contracts. Take other measures that specifically assist vendors, consultants, prime contractors, and others directly bidding on parish's procurements. Trace and regularly report participation of certified firms and MBEs and WBEs in the parish's contracts. Collaborate in regional efforts to increase startup, growth, and success of economically disadvantaged businesses, and allocate sufficient resources for program success. The Finance Department, Administration, and Legal have met to discuss our strategy to strengthen our current program in phases by the following: meeting with the City of Shreveport and the Caddo Bossier Parish Port Commission to establish a centralized certification process. The Legal Department will review our existing purchasing policies and to potentially incorporate provisions within our contracts to encourage prime contractors and/or subcontractors to utilize the parish's small and emerging businesses in our purchases of materials and supplies, professional services, and construction projects. Work with department directors to concentrate their efforts on seeking quotes and/or bids from small and emerging businesses for purchases of materials and supplies and public works projects which fall below the contract limit under the Louisiana Public Bid Law. update our vendor packet to collect detailed data on company structure, information, and commodity codes to be included in our vendor database. We continue to work with our local chambers, participate in local and state roundup table discussions, trade shows, and radio shows to promote, encourage, and educate businesses of the contracting opportunities with the Parish of Caddo.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. I think we have a couple of questions. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I think she just answered that last question, but I saw that you said you guys are going to utilize the port to get a qualified pool of applicants, and I was going to ask, what about the Shreveport Chamber of Commerce and African American Chamber of Commerce? But is that a qualified list that you guys have already extrapolated from those two organizations?
Well, currently what we do is we work with all of the chambers, so whenever we have a public bid, we send out those notices to the chambers so that they can send it out to their clients. The statement that referenced the Port Commission and the city is for us to get together to find out a better way to certify vendors, maybe to have one youth centralized location, because currently businesses go to each governmental entity to become certified. And it becomes cumbersome for them to fill out so many different forms, if you will. So if we could just have one entity to certify, and once they certify, they would send that certification notice to all governmental entities stating that this company is certified. And then we can internally build up our database so that when we do have bids to go out to prime contractors, they'll have the opportunity to utilize that list.
I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you, Valerie.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
President.
Just a follow-up question. When you say certified, that is certified as a women or minority-based business?
Well, currently for us, our program is small and emerging business.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had an opportunity to go back and read this and understand that Dr. Wilson said he had just sent something before we, or this morning, I guess.
Early today, sir.
On this, so I hadn't reviewed that. But I have only one question at this point until I get into some more detail on this. Your 25% goal that is stated in this report, is that set on specific products or services, or overall, your overall?
It's overall goal. It's not commodity based.
Okay, are there specific areas where minority groups cannot participate? Sure.
What was the last part?
Are there any particular areas of procurement where minority businesses cannot participate?
Well, minority businesses can participate in any type of bidding process. So we're not limiting anyone to participate in submitting bids or quotes to the Parish of Caddo. However, we do know that in some areas that are high volume areas, that the pool for minority-owned businesses, we don't have those businesses in that area.
What would some of those be?
For instance, let's say, and we purchase off of a state contract for vehicles, we have prescription drugs and pharmaceutical services that we purchase in high volume. Those areas that we do have high volume, high dollar areas, it's over the $30,000 threshold. So we have to publicly bid those. However, in some of those cases, those bids are awarded to minority-owned contractors. Even though our program is not it's race neutral, we do know, and based on the data, that those companies are minority-owned. So what we would like to see more of with our vendor application is once someone want to submit an application, to include more information for the makeup of their company.
Are there restrictions by area?
There are no restrictions by area for the Parish of Caddo.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Seeing no one else on the board, thank you, Ms. Jamison. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fallon. We appreciate it.
Dr. Wilson?
Okay, Commissioners, this one, the last item, I did get an opportunity to meet with the Register of Voter yesterday. and we went over where they stand in terms of being able to bring the proposed site online. And Mississippi told me what he's been dealing with the Secretary of
Secretary of State.
I think her title is Commission of Voting Registration, and at the state level, he's been dealing with this particular lady. I left my note upstairs. I do apologize for that. But he said, as far as he knows, he's on schedule. He hadn't got anything from the secretary that says otherwise. So perhaps it may be in order to clarify it, what was said the other day, when we contact the Secretary of State on that. But certainly, as far as Mr. Sibley is concerned, he has not got any directions from them to do anything different. And he met with me yesterday, and he did show me all the equipment lists that he's already ordered. And the only discrepancy they had, he had to communicate with state on. They wanted to move from a small to a large site, voting site, and he had to adjust the equipment to reflect that. But he said everything is being installed and moving forward.
Okay.
And that concludes my report on that, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a question for, I suppose, Attorney Frazier. When we requested an Attorney General opinion regarding the MPC and our ability to function as a planning board, did we have a vote to specifically ask for that? And are we going to do that this time, or is it considered part of the language of the previous amendment?
I apologize, Commissioner. I did not hear part of your question.
Sure. Do we need to have a resolution asking for an Attorney General opinion about the magazine size ordinance, or are we doing that automatically? I recall when we asked the Attorney General about the other question regarding zoning, we had a sort of formal resolution, and we all voted on it.
What we can do is send the minutes, a copy of the minutes and the vote that is contained in there.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Atkins, I did find my notes, sir.
Okay.
The lady I was making reference to, Ms. Sherry Haskey, she's the Commissioner of Elections for the state of Louisiana. And Mr. Sibley has been coordinating his efforts to establish the new site with her. And he's been dealing with her by way of written communications, and that's what we talked about yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir. Attorney Frazier, in reference to the request I asked Monday regarding the Testament LLC appeal relative to...
Yes, sir. I believe you asked the question about what happened at the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
They reviewed Testament's appeal regarding the zoning administrator's decision on a certificate of occupancy. I believe they had a tie vote, and then they had a motion to defer it to the next meeting, which is June the 22nd.
Okay, so I know it wasn't, the zoning issue was not the purpose of the meeting. However, it appears to me as though the owner of the land leased the property to another company, and the other company is functioning basically illegally, the way I see it, in their operations with the improper zoning. So that appears to be as though the effort of the zoning request has been circumvented.
Commissioner, I believe that you are definitely somewhat correct. I think part of the problem is this was initially scheduled for about 6 weeks out from that decision, but the parish did not put a board in place pending the Attorney General's opinion. We honestly thought that this would be over by now, so we're looking at what steps we can take next to kind of resolve all the issues with that piece of property.
Okay, when you say we, my constituents just wondering why couldn't the parish file an injunction of cease in operations on that particular property?
Well,
because number one, it's not properly zoned. Number two, it appears as though the appellant lawyered up, and is a bit confusion as to that particular body as to really what was going on. So it appears as though we're just kicking the can down the road, and he's making money, I imagine, off of the lease, and God knows whom, you know, all the operation going over there may be still under his jurisdiction. You know, this is very disheartening to the citizens within that area, because we've been battling that for over a year. Dust, odor, noise, mud into the streets.
Commissioner, we've gotten to pretty much the end of the road as far as kicking the can down the road. And we'll have some update on some action as we go forward after this next meeting on the 22nd.
And could you maybe do me some kind of written documentation so I can get it to my constituents, so therefore it won't be no me saying, he saying, I thought, you know, we'll get it direct from the horse's mouth in
Yes,
writing,
sir.
and everybody get the same thing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, I wasn't sure whether or not this was at the right point, but
I think it is.
there was comments that were made earlier that I did want to make a follow-up comment having to do with the ordinance that was brought forth on reducing the magazine capacity for these young people who are out there that are courageous enough to come down and discuss this issue. I probably have more experience in this area of dealing with lobbyists that has been fighting against any type of gun legislation that anybody probably on this horseshoe. Having spent 12 years down in the legislature, I've had to deal with law enforcement who was pretty much, I mean, during that time they were really supportive of a reduction in high capacity magazines because of the threat to law enforcement. Much of our law enforcement are now reluctant to get into criminal situations or get involved in criminal situations, which I feel that that's one of the reasons why we have so much now, because they are reluctant to do it, because their life is on the line because of having to go up against a piece of equipment that is basically a military equipment because of the high capacity magazine. So I dealt with that down in the state. This big lie that's being told about the Second Amendment issue was BS when I was there, and it's BS now, Mr. President. This has nothing to do with Second Amendment. Having been there, dealing with the high-priced lawyers of the NRA, in which I've dealt with them directly, the National Rifle Association, they are a big money group, and they hold the kahunas of all the political legislators down in the state. That is where our problem is. These people are so powerful that it doesn't even have to be a piece of legislation on guns. My legislation was on education. They basically threatened to kill my legislation if I didn't support their gun bill. So these people are very ruthless. They are very well funded. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people, especially on the conservative side, that are afraid of them, and on the other side too. But at the same time, that is what you're dealing with. I heard a comment about drive-by shooting. That has a tendency to have a black connotation. But our concern these days, although drive-by has been there, I mean, there's a lot of those, but it's the mass shootings. And those mass shootings don't always happen in your minority or black neighborhoods. These are young white kids that are being killed, and we should be concerned about all of our youngsters. I was just noticing them coming down here. I don't know if they could consider themselves black or minority, but I didn't see one black person down there talking about that. These are the young people who are recognizing, that are putting forth the leadership, saying that we don't want none of our children, none of our kids killed. That's why they are here. And I think we should listen to them. I wish we could vote for them. Maybe we can send them to Congress and maybe change some of these laws. I'm like Commissioner Gage Watts. I'm tired of all of these deaths every day. I've been dealing with them for years, being, you know, in local government, going back to the 90s. You know, we were dealing with a lot of those issues, and I thought maybe some of it had gone by, but it seemed to have gotten worse. That's because we have so many guns still that are on our streets. Not only do we have so many guns on our streets, they're high capacity guns. They are war equipment. You know, that's what they use in the war. So I'm really not understanding why we can't get some sort of legislation passed to try to keep from killing our young people. Thoughts and prayers are fine, but if that's all you got, you can keep them, because it's not doing any good. And it's time for us to actually step forward and address some of the things that these young people are coming down here asking us to do. They seem like they're the grown-ups in the room, not us. They're the grown-ups. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, I just had a quick question about the satellite voting location. You mentioned the equipment was already purchased.
Initially, Mr. Sibley had requested enough equipment for a smaller site. So the Secretary of Elections came back and said, no, you need a much larger supply of equipment. So he had to revise his listing.
So he has it.
And the number of laptops, like I think he had ordered 3 or 4, he had to order 7 laptops, and he had to double the equipment that was being ordered. Yes, ma'am.
So he has that equipment.
Yeah, well, he's not had it yet. It's coming in. He's ordering it.
Okay. Next question. Did he mention the line had been approved or ordered?
You said the line's been ordered, and I think they're on the verge of getting it to install it.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll get clarification for you on that one again.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Commissioner Gage Watts?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Epperson.
Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
On that issue about the additional voting site, could you please get something in writing from whomever you're talking with?
From who?
Something in writing from whomever you're speaking with about this issue?
Yes, sir.
I see, you're talking from notes, but somebody should be able to give you some kind of comprehensive details in writing that you can pass out to all of us, and we'll be on the same page. And once again, when we know he say, she say, and they say, and I thought.
No problem. I can type it up, sir.
Okay. And on communiques, please apologize for Monday, not recognizing June the 6th as an important day within our nation and throughout the world. And I'd just like to mention that today. It's not too late. I was getting my ears lowered this morning. And for those of you that may not know the military jargon, I was in the barber shop getting a haircut. And we spoke about D-Day, and I had a captured audience. And you'd be surprised at the age group of the individuals, from seniors all the way down to young people, that was not familiar with that concept. So I wanted to share that, because we shouldn't ever forget that. Because had this thing gone the other way in World War II, we probably wouldn't be sitting here tonight talking about guns or any other thing. It'd be in a whole different ball game. And my topic was, it said, let us never forget their sacrifices. Coming out of the month of May and entering into the month of June, there are 2 significant events that should be perpetually remembered. The first is Memorial Day, observed on the 4th Monday of each May, to honor our fallen and deceased military veterans. The other, which is observed on June 6th of each year, D-Day. June 6, 1944, D-Day, Allied forces launched the largest amphibious invasion in the history of warfare. It was codenamed Operation Overlord. The Allied landings on the beaches of Normandy marked the start of a long and costly campaign to liberate Northwest Europe from Nazi occupation. More than 160,000 Allied troops landed along a 50-mile stretch of heavily fortified and defended French coastline to fight Nazi Germany on the beaches of Normandy, France. General Dwight D. Eisenhower called this operation a crusade in which we will accept nothing less than full victory. Over 5,000 ships, 13,000 aircraft supported the D-Day invasion, and by day's end, the Allies gained a foothold in continental Europe. The cost of lives on D-Day was very high. More than 9,000 Allied soldiers were killed or wounded, but their sacrifice allowed more than 100,000 soldiers to begin the slow, tedious trek across Europe to defeat Hitler's crack troops. The estimated total battle casualties for the United States were over 135,000 troops, including 29,000 killed and 106,000 wounded and missing. We must never forget those dates. Also this morning I had a teleconference with Dr. Martha White, the Regional Medical Director of the Louisiana Department of Health. She updated us on the COVID-19, vaccination, texting, the variants that are still prevalent, vaccination of children, as well as good factual and timely information about monkeypox. And I would request that we would put her on the agenda for our June 23rd commission meeting so she can give us some valuable information. It's still not gone. Thirdly, if any of you have a friend that may be the owner of one of these high-powered weapons, the AR-15, the AR-15-203E, AK-47, or any of those high major caliber weapons, I would ask you to please go to the firing range with them. I have 3 sons. All of them have been in the military. All of them combat. From the first Gulf War to the Panama invasion to get Noriega, covert operations in Nicaragua, and my youngest son just got back from Iraq, and a grandson that was in Iraq and Afghanistan. All of my boys love these type weapons, you hear me? I got pea shooters compared to them. So they carried me out to the range on Memorial Day. And my God, have you ever heard one of those things go off? And you better have your good pair of hearing aids on. Can you imagine the devastation and destruction? I thought the little M16s and the M14s that we had in 65 was something. But those are pea shooters. Have you all seen the movie Let's Do It Again? Boots of Farnsworth, Arsenio Hall. They were in that firefight. Arsenio had his little gun and say, pow, pow. Well, brother, that is something. Can you imagine one of those things going off into a 4th grade classroom? Huh? Did you see the testimony of Matthew McConaughey? The only way this person could identify their child was by the green tennis shoes. These are the grown-ups, those young people that spoke. And I agree with Commissioner Burrell. I wish we could elect them. I think we'll be a hell of a lot better off than we are now. Go out to the range. Get one of those friends of yours. And look, my sons, when we went to the range, he just said, Dad, this 20-round magazine good for me. He didn't have to have it loaded. And all my boys got the stuff. They got drones. They got the high-power stuff, and they know how to use it. Okay? Said, Dad, I don't need that extended, round. He started out on the rifle team at Captain Shreve with GROTC. A responsible gun owner. And they all hunt. But we need to really look at what we're doing. Can you imagine? Go out to that range and hear one of them things go off. See how quick we can empty that magazine. That M14, that M16 is a BB gun compared to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Anyone else for communiques? Seeing no one?
All right, we move to President's Report.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, I will briefly reiterate something Dr. Wilson was saying. I had a discussion with Registrar Voter Dale Sibley yesterday, I believe it was, just to get an update on where we were with our secondary voting location. He assured me that he and his team are moving forward with all due haste to prepare the secondary voting location at Hamilton Library in Southern Hills. He had received no direction from anyone in the parish or state to pursue any other option, and so he felt that a change in plan at this point would delay any hope of having a facility open by the fall election. He expects to have the Hamilton Library open by the fall election, but a change in location would make it virtually impossible to have a location open for the fall election. So I wanted to convey that message to you all. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay, now we move to public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases, which we have none. So we'll move to public hearing on ordinances. Ordinance number 6230 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of do you want me to read all of these and then open the public hearing?
Yes, Madam Clerk, I would recommend that we read them all and then we'll have our public hearing.
Got it, okay. Ordinance number 6230 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund in the amount of $6,500 to provide an appropriation for wildlife education and rehabilitation of Louisiana. Ordinance number 6231 of 2022, an ordinance setting the parish millage for the purpose of paying principal and interest due in 2022 on outstanding parish bond issues, and to instruct the assessor to include said millage on the tax roll of the parish of Caddo for the year 2022. Ordinance number 6232 of 2022, an ordinance to set the general purpose and special purpose millages, providing for millage rate adjustments as allowed by Article 7, Section 23 of the Louisiana Constitution of 1974 and Louisiana Revised Statute 47:1705B, levying and imposing taxes and assessments for 2022 on all the property subject to taxation in the parish of Caddo. Ordinance number 6233 of 2022, an ordinance to adopt the values fixed or to be fixed by the Louisiana Tax Commission on all assessments for railways and other public service corporations, and to instruct the assessor to extend such assessments and values on the tax roll of the parish of Caddo for the year 2022. Ordinance number 6234 of 2022, an ordinance setting the assessment of property classified as timberlands, and to instruct the assessor to include said assessment on the tax roll of the parish of Caddo for the year 2022. Ordinance number 6235 of 2022, an ordinance to deem property surplus and authorize the sale of surplus property owned by the parish of Caddo. Ordinance number 6236 of 2022, an ordinance requiring that all parish employees hired, appointed, or promoted to parish attorney, assistant parish administrator, or CEO, department director, or commission clerk must be residents of Caddo Parish. And that's all of them.
That's it? Well, the president just stepped out, so I guess I can, want me to open it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll open, we'll open it up for this public hearing. It's open up now. Anyone who would like to speak in favor or against these ordinances, you can come forward. Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Well, Madam Secretary.
Alrighty, now we move to zoning ordinances for final passage. We have none, so we'll move to ordinances for final passage. Ordinance number 6230 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund in the amount of $6,500 to provide an appropriation for wildlife education and rehabilitation in Louisiana.
So moved. Move to adopt.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Epperson, was it? A second from, and a second from Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Epperson, would you like to speak on your motion?
No, sir. I think it speaks for itself.
Okay. All right, let's vote, please.
Commissioner Johnson's on the board.
Commissioner Johnson.
I'd like to englobo and adopt ordinance number 6230, 6231, 6232, 6233, 6234, 6235. I'll stop right there.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to englobo and adopt ordinance number 6230, 6231, 6232, 6233, 6234, and 6235. Is that correct, Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, that is.
Okay. Any comments on this motion? Seeing nobody on the board, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. So now we move to ordinance number 6236 of 2022, an ordinance requiring that all parish employees hired, appointed, or promoted to parish attorney, assistant parish administrator, parish administrators, or CEO, department director, or commission clerk must be residents of Caddo Parish.
Move to adopt ordinance number 6236 of 2022.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson to adopt 6236 and a second by Commissioner Burrell. Would you like to speak on this, Commissioner Johnson?
Oh, this is just basically cleaning up the ordinance that was passed back in 2021. There was a misunderstanding, and so we just wanted to make sure we got it right. So
what was the specifics on that? I read it.
So basically, we was talking specifically about the director position, and that position would be grandfathered at a certain point. And so the parish attorney misinterpreted. We wanted to do all those positions, but those other positions were already in the bylaws already. So we were just making the change only to the director's position.
So the amendment that was done in 21 was saying that directors could be grandfathered.
It went in and incorporated everybody to be grandfathered at a new date when we had already passed it a long time ago.
Oh, so they were already grandfathered?
No.
Oh.
No. They have to be in the parish to get to those positions. That was already voted upon. She thought we was trying to englobo all of them into the grandfather, and we wasn't.
Okay.
We were only talking about the director's position.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 8 in support, 2 in opposition, and 2 absent.
All right.
Now we move to zoning ordinances for introduction by title. We have none, so we'll go to ordinances for introduction by title. Introduction of ordinance number 6237 of 2022, an ordinance regarding exchange of right-of-ways with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in connection with extending Louisiana 3276 to Louisiana 1, to authorize the exchange of certain portions of parish roads in return for certain portions of state highways, to authorize the parish administrator to execute agreements as necessary to accomplish that exchange, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Okay.
Ordinance number 6239 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation for Charles Johnson Ministries Incorporated and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Now we'll move to work session minutes. So moved.
To adopt. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, second by to adopt, and second by Commissioner Hopkins. Let's vote, please. I'm assuming Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts doesn't have a comment on that.
No, sir, thank you.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. Now we go to resolutions. Resolution number 33 of 2022, A resolution to authorize the Caddo Parish Administrator to consent to the assignment of state agency leases 22029 and 22030, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Epperson to adopt, a second by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Epperson, any comment?
No, sir.
Okay, let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. We have no old business, so we'll move to new business. Confirm selection of the official journal for the Parish of Caddo. And
Motion by Commissioner Burrell.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Any comments, Commissioner Burrell? Would you like to speak on? So we only had one proposal, right?
yes, that's
Just for the
correct.
record, we only have one proposal here.
That's correct.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Burrell, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Let's vote.
And that motion carries with 9 in support, 1 in opposition, and 2 absent. And now we move to reappoint the Lakeview Waterworks District, reappoint Robert Fowler to the Lakeview Waterworks Board, term to expire March 17, 2027.
I'd like to make a motion to englobal the reappointment to the Lakeview Waterworks District, the appointment of Susan Pojak.
Pojak.
Okay, to the Citizen Advisory Committee on Juvenile Justice. Appoint the North Caddo Hospital Service District Board of Directors, Jennifer Fatt.
Second.
Okay, so we had a motion to appoint and adopt.
To englobal and adopt.
Global and adopt 20.33, 20.4, and I missed one, didn't I?
20.5.
20.5. Okay, and that was, motion was by Commissioner Johnson. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the second. Commissioner Hopkins. Any comment, Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Anyone on the board? Seeing nobody, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. Now we move to communiques and committee reports.
Anybody have anything? All right.
Citizens' comments, late arrivals.
I had three citizen comment cards for late arrivals, but these were the 3 individuals from People's Promise. I believe they've already had their opportunity to speak, and it appears that they have headed out.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Let's adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
So it's next week.